This is the new Range Rover Sport, and it's a little bit like a Staffordshire Bull Terrier. You see, the full-fat Range Rover would be a British Bulldog, but the Sport, just like the Staffy, is smaller, lighter, more agile, a touch more aggressive, yet it's still quintessentially British. Now in this video I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the Range Rover Sport, talk you around the exterior, show you the interior, try its technology, see how practical it is, and of course I'm going to take it for a drive, which will include launching it to see how quick it is from 0 to 60 miles an hour. Because I'm Matt Watson and you're watching Car Wow. Oh, and if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon to turn your notifications on. That way you won't miss a single upload. Buy, sell, Car Wow. Let's start off this video by talking about the design of the new Range Rover Sport. First thing to note, roof spoiler. That is the biggest spoiler Land Rover have ever fitted to a Range Rover. It's almost big enough to shelter from the rain underneath, but unfortunately not quite big enough. Let's move on to the lights. So you have this strip here with the visible tail lamps there. Not as cool as the hidden tail lamps that you have on the big Range Rover. The whole rear of the car is a bit more curved as well. Maybe that's because curved means sporty. I'll tell you what's sporty though, look. These exhaust pipes. You might be thinking they're huge, they've got to be fake, or at least just surrounds. Oh no, look at this. I'll illustrate now with the Car Wow stick of truth that these are actually the exhaust pipes. They may not be that big all the way down, but it is all one unit. So bravo for that, Land Rover. Moving down the side, alloy wheels start at 20 inches. Rising to 23s, these are 22s. I like the way you've got like this black area here and all the glass and the pillars are black, so it looks like the roof is floating. I also like the fact that you don't have any visible window rubbers, so it's almost like the bodywork just blends into the windows. Really, really nice. What's not so nice are these plasticky bits here. If you're wondering what these bronze bits are, that's because this is a dynamic model and it adds a sportier flair to it. Anyway, at the front, once again, like the rear, it's just a bit more curvaceous than the big Range Rover. It's also less expensive. Starts from £80,000. Still rather expensive though. Now let's talk about the design of the new Range Rover Sport. So it looks very similar to the normal Range Rover, but there are a few bits and pieces that are different, such as the overall design of this center console and then bits in the door cards as well. Quality compared to its competitors, very good, but it just doesn't feel quite as expensive as the bigger Range Rover, but then I guess it's not, is it? You do still have some cheap feeling bits and pieces like you do in the big Range Rover though, like those speakers here on the door tops and the plastic on the steering wheel. Tell you what I really like, these expensive feeling metal paddles for the gear selector. Oh, nice. You've also got the same infotainment system, but that's a good thing. So it's got haptic feedback so that when you press it, it clicks so you know that you've actually hit the right thing. And it's generally easy to use. There is a bit of lag to the screen as you can see here. Look, oh well. But it's kind of like what you expect from most car systems. The graphics are nice and clear, then the colours are good, and it's curved, so that helps cut down the amount of reflections you get when you've got strong sunlight. I like that about it. Moving on to the digital driver's display, once again nice and clear. Now your climate control operation is separate from the main screen, most of it. The only thing is that you have to pull and push those buttons if you want to operate the fan or the heated seat. So when you're driving along, you're like, which one is it set on? I don't know. And then you turn something and you think it's the fan, but it's actually the heated seat, and then you have to look down and then put it to the right thing. You get the general idea, don't you? Tell you what I can't complain about though, the driving position. So you don't sit quite as on it as you do the big Range Rover, but it still feels higher up than other SUVs such as a Porsche Cayenne and a BMW X5, and I do like the seating position and the fact that everything is electrical. Yes, look at that. And like the big Range Rover, you do have these adjustable armrests. Very nice, clear, comfy driving position in this car. It's also very, very practical as well. So look under here, you have a deep storage space there. Under here, you've got some massive cup holders. So even if you've got like big flasks, they can fit in there. Oh. Also, they'll hold smaller bottles, though they do rattle about a bit. Moving on, there is more storage under here, and that's where your USB port is. I use the term in the singular fashion because I can only find one. Wait a minute, that can't be right, can it? I've missed something. What is it? Is it? Oh, I remember. There's a little handle on this cup holder tray. And slide that back and it gives you more storage and reveals two other USBs, a normal one and a USB-C. It's also revealed a pass for the M6 toll. Obviously the owner of this car goes on the M6 toll. I've also missed something else. Surely there's a 12-volt socket in this car and I've missed it. Let me know where it is in the comments. Anyway, the door bins, they're a big size, but can they fit the flask? It's the flask of truth. And yeah, it fits. We knew it would. And then you've got two glove boxes. So there's the low glove box, the normal glove box, which is lined with felt so things don't rattle about. And then you have the upper glove box there. It's exactly the same as you get on the big Range Rover. However, unlike the big Range Rover, the Sport doesn't come with soft closed doors as standard, which seems a little bit mean at this price. So if you don't spec them and you shut the door and you don't do it hard enough, you'll just be left like that. Look, it's not shut. If I was in the big Range Rover, it would have automatically shut that last bit for me. People who buy these kind of cars do now expect soft close. Now, if you actually want to see how much posher the big Range Rover is, then click on the pop-out banner up there for the link in the description below to watch my full in-depth video review of that car. The Range Rover Sport is built on the same platform as the normal Range Rover, and the wheelbase, which is the distance between the front and rear wheels, is the same, which means that rear knee room is the same as the bigger vehicle. So yeah, loads of rear knee room, that's good. Headroom's decent as well. I don't think it's quite as much as on a BMW X5. I don't think the panoramic glass roof helps really, because it does just eat into head space a bit, but it's a worthy addition because it does make it feel brighter in the back than it otherwise would have been. And anyway, if you need more headroom, just recline the rear seats like that and then you'll be fine. Speaking of comfort, I like the fact that you've got these big soft window ledges like that. Very good for just resting your arm on. It's just a shame that the rear windows do not go all the way down. That's not a deal breaker though, is it? Quality here in the back is just as good as in the front, and I especially like the very, very expensive feeling grab handles with the lovely soft lighting effect as well. I also like this posh folder style pockets on the seat backs. Got heated seats here in the rear of this particular car, and look, when I fold this down, you have hidden cup holders and a little storage tray here, once again lined with felt to stop things rattling about. All lovely. And there's through loading as well. Pull this tab, go on, pull it, Watson, there we go. Oh, it didn't work, did it? Classic. To give it a bright old yank. Then you got through loading. We finally got there, didn't we? Other things to note, you've got easy access ISOFIX anchor points there, so there's no stabbing around like there is on some other cars, and there's easily enough space in here to fit a bulky rear-facing child seat. When it comes to carrying three in the back at once, well, it's pretty good. So the central seat is quite padded, there's loads of foot space, only a mild hump in the floor. And one of the things I like about the Range Rover is the actual position of your legs. Some cars you feel like your knees are up like this, not in that. The seat is quite a decent distance from the floor, so it's all very comfortable, especially over longer distances. Let's move on to the boot. Now, believe it or not, the Range Rover Sport's boot is actually bigger than the big Range Rover's boot, 835 litres. Anyway, nice square shape, look at it, and no low lip to lift things over. You might be thinking though, it's quite high. Well, don't worry, look, you can lower the air suspension like that. Going down, boy, down, down, down. That's better. It's going to be easier to lift things in and out now. It's a bit of a shame that you don't have the split folding tailgate of the larger Range Rover, which is quite cool, though it does make it a little bit harder to reach things from the back of the boot. Speaking of which, if you need to carry bigger items, you can fold down the rear seats and do it electrically. So let them do their thing. While they're doing that, I'll point out this, look, lovely little Land Rover logo just etched into the carpet. Apparently they do that with a stencil and just hoover it. Cool. Anyway, look at this load space, loads of room for all your bits and pieces. And if you look under here, there is some more storage, though not on this particular vehicle because the owner has fitted the optional spare wheel. It is a bit funny that nowadays, even with a Range Rover, you have to pay extra if you want a spare wheel. Actually, while I got this up, it's a good opportunity to point out the fact that there is no place in the Range Rover Sport to store the parcel shelf. Oh well. Also, unlike with the previous generation, you can't get it with 7 seats anymore. And that brings us on to 5 annoying things about the new Range Rover Sport. On many cars, you can deactivate the stop-start system by pressing a physical button. With this though, you have to press that little icon there to go into menu on the screen and then press that there. Annoyingly, when you then lock the car and walk away, it just reactivates the stop-start system. So you have to do it every single bloody time. There is one problem with the poppy-outy door handles. You see, when the car's unlocked and it's stationary, they're always popped out. So if you're a thief and you're walking along, you can instantly tell, oh, the car's unlocked. I'll have a quick look in there. Great advert. This particular car cost £100,000, yet the key feels very similar to one from a £30,000 Vauxhall Astra. In fact, the Vauxhall seems a little bit more substantial. And this is a thing that you actually hold in your hand quite a bit. Land Rover has a pretty poor reputation for reliability, and anyone who buys one of these cars will always have that kind of dark cloud just hovering above them. What is that noise? What is that kind of weird glitch on the infotainment system? What is that clonk I heard? Is my car going to be at the dealer for a long time? At first glance, the wireless charging pad on this car seems very good. So the location of it is close to your hands, but also it keeps the phone out of your eye line. Great idea. It's even cooled so that your phone doesn't overheat while you're wirelessly charging it. Unfortunately, the mat itself is quite slippery, so when you accelerate, your phone just goes like that and just comes flying out. That's the reason the owner of this car, David, thanks David for lending us your car, has had to buy this sticky mat which he puts in there to stop his phone not going flying whenever he puts his foot down from a junction. That really works. So it does beg the question, why the heck Land Rover didn't fit a grippier charging pad in the first place? However, it's not all bad. Here's 5 cool things about the new Range Rover Sport. You've gone shopping for all the essentials, so not much. Issue is though, if you put this in this big boot, it's just going to rattle around in there and everything will just be falling about the place. But this is a great idea, look at this. This little divider. Excellent, love it. The surround view camera system is absolutely brilliant. The clarity is so good, and I love the 3D effect as well. Obviously you can look around the car like that, so you can zoom in and out, whiz around it like that as well, look at different camera angles. So nice. And it even knows when doors are open, so if you open the rear door, look, it'll open. Yay! Shut that door a second. Even if you open the boot, which I'll do now from here, look, it shows the boot open. And that's not all though, right? Because obviously, being a Range Rover, it's designed to be good off-road. So for this you have an off-road mode. So if I go into that, you can then look at your alloy wheels there like that. So you can actually use that for when you're parking to make sure you don't curb it, and check this feature out. You can see underneath the bonnet. So if I start driving along, it's going to fill in what's underneath me. So you'll see, look underneath, can you see? See that puddle going underneath the bonnet? Really handy if you're trying to avoid rocks when you're going for some hardcore off-roading. You can get an upgraded sound system that has speakers in the headrest, and that system also includes some clever noise cancelling software. So you've got some microphones in the wheel arches which pick up road noise and stuff like that. Then the computer works out the opposite wavelength and plays those through the speakers in the headrest to cancel those unwanted noises out, a bit like noise cancelling headphones. The air suspension has an access mode, so you can press a button on the door and it will drop it down to make the car lower than normal, so it's easy to get in and out of. Oh, I feel like I'm going down in the world. Wait a minute, that's not why you buy a Range Rover. You buy one to make you feel like you're going up in the world. Still, it's going to be easy to get in and out. Not such a jump for a shorty like me. I'm not short, I'm average height, FYI. This may be an SUV, but it's also a proper, serious off-roader. So you've got features such as 281mm of ground clearance. You have the ability to wade up to 900mm. Also, you have a special sensor which can see how deep the water is in front of you. Then there's the fact you've got a low range mode for the gearbox, and you've got a central locking diff and a rear locking diff, plus various off-road modes which you can just select and the car will do its thing. They range from grass, gravel and snow, to mud and ruts, to sand, and then there's the wading one as well. The car even has a cruise control system that works at off-road speeds. So very clever. Now let's move on to talk about the engines, but before we do, I've got to say, I do love the clamshell bonnets you get on Range Rovers. Seems premium. Anyhow, diesels. There's a 3-litre straight 6 turbocharged diesel. You can have it with either 300 horsepower or 350 horsepower. Moving on to petrols, you've got a 3-litre straight 6 turbocharged petrol with either 400 horsepower, or if you go for a plug-in hybrid, it has either 440 horsepower or 510 horsepower. Now the plug-in hybrids have quite big battery sizes, 32 kilowatt hours, which can give you a range on electric power alone of up to 70 miles. They can also do over 70 miles an hour on electric power alone. You won't be able to do the two together. Anyhow, if you want the quickest Range Rover Sport, then you need the 4.4 litre twin turbo V8, which has 530 horsepower. Now let's see what the new Range Rover Sport is like to drive at slower speeds, such as if you're driving around town. So I'm going around this roundabout here, and the steering is reasonably light. The suspension is dealing with these imperfections in the road quite well, so you do feel a bit of a jolt, but considering I'm riding on 22-inch alloys, it does soak up the bumps very well. I think it's better better than its sporty SUV competitors when it comes to riding on big wheels and over bumps. It also helps when you're manoeuvring around town. You've got a decent view out the back window and you've got big door mirrors plus the reversing camera. It's so clear, look at that. I'm still going to park it like an idiot because, you know, Range Rover Sport owner and all that. Look, there we go, just cross the lines. Very funny, Matt, very funny. It's actually a very good car to drive around town. Gearbox is smooth as well. Just blends the gears together absolutely seamlessly when you're going at slower speeds. You can see why people use these for the school run. I mean, in some ways it's terrible, but you know, they're spacious, they're comfortable, you get a great view out over the traffic because of the raised driving position, and they give you that luxury feel that makes you feel good about your life when you're dropping your kids off at the gates at, you know, 8:30 in the morning. Now I'm going to see what the Range Rover Sport is like at motorway speed. So I'm at 40 miles an hour, I'm going to accelerate up to 70. Here we go. Floor it, kick down. Took a wee while to respond, the gearbox, but we're off. And there's plenty of pulling power and up to 70 fairly quickly like that. Now it's raining pretty heavily right now, so I'm getting lots of noise from the windscreen. The rest of the car is quiet, don't get much road noise at all. Maybe a bit of wind flutter from those big door mirrors, but other than that, not bad, fairly relaxing. Let's go with the auto cruise. Right that on. Go on, hook me up. I'm hooked up. I'm on a closed test track and it's perfectly legal for me to do this. Don't ever take your hands off the wheel when you're driving on the road. It's not doing a great job of keeping me hooked up to the lane. Come on, do it. Look, it's wanting to weave a bit. Look, go, no, it hits the line and then it goes, oh no, it's trying to just keep me in. It's not the best system in the world, this. It's adequate. As for the economy, well, this particular P400 is supposed to average 29 miles to the gallon. This car, 24 miles to the gallon. It's never going to be great, is it, with something that's as heavy as this with four-wheel drive and stuff. So far then, the Range Rover Sport is very nice to drive, but it's got sport in its name. So how does it feel if you want to hustle it down a country road? Well, there's one coming up now. So I'm going to put it into dynamic mode. It's firmed up the air suspension, make it a little bit more responsive. I'm going to go for sports mode for the gearbox as well and take control using the paddles. It's not the fastest gear changes, not like on a Porsche Cayenne. The engine does all right pulling and it remains relatively flat through the bends until you really start pushing, and then you can tell this just feels a little bit top heavy. It's not terrible, I mean you can get down the road okay, and it's definitely a little bit more focused than the big Range Rover Sport. Sportier. They should call it the Range Rover Sportier. Yeah, it's adequate. The steering puts the car where you want it to go. It's confidence inspiring, but it's not what you'd call fun and it's not what you'd really call sporty. The new Range Rover Sport is supposed to do 0 to 60 in 5.7 seconds. I'm going to test it myself though. Here we go. The foot brake, floor the throttle. Dynamic launch activated. I am dynamically launching. Oh, bit of a jolty gear change. Right, so 0 to 60, 5.7 seconds. Let's press on. Doing the 0 to 100. What's it going to be? 14.29 in the quarter mile. 15.39. 0 to 60, bang on the money. It's fairly quick, this is. Now let's do a brake test. See how long it takes it to stop from 60 miles an hour. Here we go. Full emergency stop now. Don't skid into the barrier, Matthew. It's not your car. There's a lot of ABS. A lot of it. 44 metres. It is wet, but it just didn't feel that sorted on the braking. I was expecting, you know, about 38 metres, maybe 39. So then, what's my final verdict on the new Range Rover Sport? Should you avoid it? Should you consider it? Should you shortlist it? Or should you just go right ahead and buy it? Well, I reckon you should shortlist it. It is a really lovely vehicle. However, it's not quite as sporty as its German competitors, and it's not quite as lovely as its bigger brother, the Range Rover.